The local rapper who survived a shooting near the St. John's Town Center earlier this week is now out of the hospital and behind bars. His younger brother and two friends died in that same drive-by shooting, but now after being released from the hospital, Keonta Bullard, also known as Young and Ace, is in jail for violating probation. Our Shelby Danielson is at the detention center with more about why this has created a firestorm of controversy for JSO.
At least a dozen family members were here to support the lone survivor of the quadruple shooting who faced a judge this morning. His attorney tells us, though, that he thinks his client should still be in the hospital.
He's got, I think, 13 or 14 bullet holes in him. He still has 8 bullets in him that have not been removed yet.
Attorney David Haas says 20-year-old Keonta Bullard had to leave the hospital early because he didn't have health insurance, but now he says that's complicating things, although he doesn't deny his client violated probation.
The jail staff was very supportive to him last night. He had to go back to the hospital last night for retreating of his wounds.
Since his arrest, World Star, a popular hip-hop blog, wrote about it on Instagram, calling for the public to contact JSO about it. The post received thousands of likes and comments. On Facebook, JSO responded to the influx of calls, writing, quote, "We are receiving hundreds of calls in our communication center in a short amount of time due to a social media post. We would like to remind people that the misuse of 911 or the 911 system is an offense you can be arrested for." Off camera, his family says the arrest was unexpected. Bullard's father tells First Coast News he dropped him off at the probation office, and the next thing he knew, his son was walking out in handcuffs. His attorney explains what the meeting was intended for.
We were trying to move him out of town to keep him safe. Probation office approved for him to be able to leave. They called him back in after that, and he was arrested.
JSO says he was arrested for violating probation, which prohibits the possession of a firearm.
It happened the same day. I can tell you it was nothing violent. It was silly, and it doesn't warrant what's happening to him.
Friends of the family, like Marquisa Brooks, says she just hopes the families get justice.
It's kind of like a hurtful situation.
Even though JSO identified Bullard as a gang member, she says he was an aspiring rapper who she didn't see as violent.
It's just a group of friends, basically. I don't see it as a gang. Just kids rapping, doing stuff they love.
Right now, Bullard is being held at JSO without bond. His attorney says he still needs medical treatment. For First Coast News, I'm Shelby Danielson on your side.
Thank you, Shelby. And we've done some digging tonight. We've found that Bullard has a criminal history. Court documents from the Clay County Clerk of Courts show an arrest warrant from 2017 stating that Bullard was involved in a shooting in which 18 bullets were fired at an apartment building in 2016, at least one bullet even hitting the headrest of a high chair in which a 12-month-old was eating dinner. Police records indicate that Bullard was the getaway driver, not the shooter in that case. He was sentenced to 31 months of probation. Now, in the quadruple shooting Tuesday night, you could receive as much as $8,000 in reward money for information leading to an arrest. To be eligible, you must call Crime Stoppers, which you can do anonymously. That number is 866-845-TIPS.